Everybody, Randy here in the Eastwood Garage. Thanks for joining us for a special live broadcast. Today I've got Jim here from Condon Skelly Insurance, and he's going to be answering all of your collector car insurance questions. So if you have any questions about collector car insurance, now's the time to ask them. All you have to do is type them into the comment section on Facebook and YouTube. I'm here with my laptop monitoring all your questions, and I'm going to be throwing them over to Jim, and he's going to answer them for you. So Jim, can you tell me a little bit about Condon Skelly?
Absolutely. First, thanks for having me.
Yeah, yeah.
It's exciting
Thanks
to be
for coming
here.
out.
It's a little different not seeing welding and things going on, so
Yeah.
it'll be a little bit different than normal broadcast. Yeah, Condon Skelly, we've been offering collector car insurance this is our 50th year.
Oh, wow.
1967 is when we started, and I think probably one of the premier providers out there of things like this. Excited to be here today looking at your shop, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And how we can help your clients and customers with their risks and needs that they have for the projects they might be working on in their cars.
90% of our, I believe about 90% of our customers are working on a car.
Right now.
Yeah, so they're going to be looking for insurance.
And
we'll find out, maybe you guys can even insure a restoration project.
Absolutely.
Maybe we'll get to that here. So should we get to some, we already have a couple questions popping up here.
Fantastic.
So, okay, stated value of insurance. Here's a question we have on YouTube. Can you discuss it, and do you offer it?
Sure.
That's basically the basis, right?
Well,
collector car insurance is stated value, or
what's interesting is, and I don't want to get too far into the weeds on this,
okay,
but there is a difference between stated value and agreed value.
Okay.
What we provide is agreed value. Agreed value meaning the dollar amount that your policy is written for in the event of a total loss. That's what you're going to be paid. Now, we agree to that dollar amount. Stated value, people like to use that. It's actually not nearly as good a coverage. It actually limits how much you're paid.
Okay.
So what you want to look for is an agreed value policy. So again, $10,000 car, $10,000 project. Your shop burns down, that's the amount that you're paid. No depreciation.
Okay.
But that actually that's a very good question.
All right, so it's a good way to get started here.
Absolutely.
So let me check for some others. Okay, here's another one. I thought my car was insured under my homeowner's policy. Is this the case?
Yeah, you know, that's where that question really comes in, especially with your customers, is on the project side.
Yeah.
People assume because they've got their '69 Camaro all spread out, it's not really a car. Well, it is as far as an insurance policy is concerned. So no, cars, parts, things like that are not covered on a homeowner's policy. Again, that's the need for a collector car policy like ours.
Okay.
Now, one thing to add to that though, take it away from the car a little bit, the tools that they'll buy from Eastwood, those can be covered on a homeowner's policy. But what you're going to want to do is make sure you notify whoever handles your homeowner's policy that you've just bought a $1,000 air compressor or a new welder, because homeowners policies have limitations on some of those things,
okay,
but easily added. But don't just assume when you buy a nice piece of equipment that it's automatically covered on your homeowners.
So will you insure tools then?
We don't.
Just because it's covered under?
Absolutely. There's better places for it.
Okay.
We're not experts on tools.
Yeah.
It's really a standard type coverage that you'll get just on your homeowners. But again, call your broker, let them know what you bought.
So back to the homeowners policy, you were saying your car's all scattered out. It's not really a car right now, but insurance companies, your homeowners policy is going to say, no, that's a car.
Yep.
So if that is a project like a lot of our guys, most of our guys are working on,
yep,
do you cover that?
We do, and you know, one of it's not really a difficult conversation, but it's something to think about. Ties into the agreed value question here all of a sudden is how do you value that? How do you value a project that, again, it's really not a car?
Yeah.
And it's a pretty simple mathematical equation. What we do is we look at the total investment, and basically we'll insure it for half that amount. And the reason is, how many projects do you see on Craigslist where guys don't get them done?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of times people have a lot more money wrapped up in a project than they can sell it for.
Yeah.
With an insurance policy like ours, what we don't ever want to do is put someone in a position where they could have an insurance claim and be paid more for the item that they could sell it for.
Yeah.
It's called a moral hazard. You never want to put somebody in that position. So what we do is we basically look at if somebody's got $50,000 in their Mustang project, let's say. When that car is done, it might be worth 50, but today it's worth about 25,000. And if you think about it, it makes sense. Once you buy something, it's used. You know, I know you spent 20 grand for that new LS1 motor, but anybody can spend 20 grand for it. Now it's a used motor since you have it. But once the project's completed, we absolutely can make it whatever.
Full value.
Exactly.
But it's a way to have some kind of protection.
Absolutely, because right now they have none.
You have none.
You have zero.
All right.
And it's very inexpensive too. I mean, a project, you know, $10,000 in coverage might cost them $100 a year.
Oh, really?
It's very inexpensive.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So it makes sense to get it then, just to have that protection in case something would happen.
You bet.
You don't lose not just the value of it, but all the hundreds or thousands of hours you have working on that car. It's
Absolutely.
Just gone, and you have nothing to show for it.
That is absolutely correct.
All right, let's go to, like I said, if you're just joining us, if you have any questions, post them on Facebook and YouTube. And Jim from Condon Skelly's here to answer all your collector car insurance questions. A couple of them here we've already covered. Oh, here's a good one. My son is 21. Can he drive the cars that are insured with you?
You know, there's no doubt, and for all of us that go to shows and walk through the crowds, we need to do more to encourage younger drivers to participate. Graying of the hobby, everybody's talking about it. Under our program, our policy, young drivers can be covered. There's a lot of companies out there that'll have, you know, 5-year driving experience, 10 years. I've seen one that's 30 years old, believe it or not. I mean, that's getting pretty old. We actually don't have that issue.
Yeah.
We're a firm believer that, you know, if you don't cultivate younger drivers today, the hobby won't be here 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Yeah.
And so for us, a 21-year-old driver isn't an issue. Now that being said, still got to be a good driver. So it's not everyone, and we actually think by allowing people the opportunity to have a policy like ours and being younger, they drive better because they know the responsibility that goes with it.
Yeah.
And they're much more careful. We have no issues with our young drivers from a loss perspective, which is good. Yeah.
Well,
Which is very unusual compared to normal auto.
Yeah, I know, because that's definitely, the age is a definitely common question, because a lot of people just assume you've got to be at least like 24, 25 years old.
Absolutely.
Their kids can't drive it.
Yeah.
So the fact that you guys go to that low of an age is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
We get another question here. Is there anything I can do to increase the value of my car, such as painting the engine compartment? That's something a lot of our guys, maybe they've restored a car, they got a car that was restored years ago, they're looking just to improve the appearance.
Absolutely. There's no doubt that little things like cleaning up the engine compartment makes a huge difference when you go to sell. And that's some of the simplest things to increase your value.
Yeah.
You know, for the want of a $15 bug bomb, that could mean thousands of dollars difference on the value of your car if you go to sell it. So what we tell people is, you know, really anytime you do anything to improve your car, products they would buy from you, let us know. And it's not unusual for someone to send us a photo of their engine compartment before and after.
Okay.
And this is what it was before. It was $10,000 then. You know, I spent another $1,000 on it. They may have increased their value by $3,000 or $4,000. You know, like remodeling your home, you redo your kitchen, you get more out of it than you actually put into it.
And then if you agree that it works, then they can increase the value of their policy.
Absolutely, and we do that every day. People, I mean, let's face it, even projects that aren't projects are projects.
Yeah.
They're ongoing, and so that's every day we do that. It's as simple as 25 years ago when I started in the business, it was a problem because people would send in, you know, Polaroid pictures.
Yeah.
It took a long time. Now literally it's minutes, an email, a photo, and it's done.
And to get insurance, you typically just want some photos of the car?
Yeah.
Like, is it engine compartment, exterior?
You know, it's today, the application process is simple, literally a 3-minute application. And we encourage people to send us as many pictures as they have. Again, there's no cost involved since it's all digital in this day and age. But it doesn't hurt to supply us with as many as you want. Actually, we only need one, just a 3/4 shot of the car to show that it's there.
That's it?
That's it. Yeah, very simple. But most people are more than happy to send you Megabytes.
To show you all the work they put into it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the old day, we'd say rolls and stacks of pictures. Today, it's megabytes. Oh yeah, people are very proud of the work they've done.
So does that help then? Like say they use one of our specialty paints to clean up the engine compartment and they believe it increased the value of the car. Does that help if they originally had those pictures and now they send in more?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, there's no doubt about it, because it gives us kind of a baseline to go off of, this is what we had, this is what it is today, and it doesn't hurt. And again, we're not talking filing cabinets like we used to.
Yeah.
It's all in the cloud, it's all safe, it's all in their own digital file. So as much information as possible is helpful, but we don't require it, let's put it that way. So.
Well, recently we got to visit Condon Skelly. So if everybody out there is just joining us, we have Jim here from Condon Skelly. So if you have any questions about collector car insurance, make sure you type them in a comment on Facebook or YouTube, and I'm going to pass them along to him. And he's been answering questions here now for about 10 minutes, and he's going to be here a little longer. But while we're waiting for some more questions, I guess we can roll some of this footage we have, because in the basement of Condon Skelly is a pretty cool car collection that you definitely would not have expected to be there. So I don't know if Dave's in there, if he could show everyone this. Wait, the place here. I never would have expected these cars, a DeSoto, a Lincoln, to be in the basement of an office building.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. We're fortunate to have it, which is good. And again, the collection we have is quite eclectic, ranging from 1940s to 2014 cars.
Can you tell me about some of these?
Absolutely. Actually, the Lincoln 65, that was the first car as part of our collection. It kind of fits what you think about 1960s big boat, but then the suicide door aspect of it, it's just a blast, and people today, you go to a show and open that up and they're like, what happens if it opens when you go down the road? One of those kind of things.
That's why they're called suicide doors.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And so people really enjoy it. And the whole top function of the trunk lid comes up and the top goes back.
Oh, we'll have to check that out.
It's a very interesting car to take to a show and show people. So, but you're right. But then we go from something like this to one of the most favorite cars in the collection is our Handyman Special. It's a 1954 Chevrolet Handyman. Back then it was just a work truck, and today it's a fantastic street rod.
Yeah.
Super cool. A couple surfboards on the roof maybe at some point, and
lots of chrome.
Lots of chrome, big grill. People like that one as well too.
And how about the other Chevy in the back?
Straight stock, bone stock. Not
really?
That car is that way it came off the line. Just a neat old car.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny. We're with the light coming in the windows, showing the dirt on the car.
Yeah.
It's truly almost like a barn find.
Yeah,
although it's not.
It looks like we wandered into an old, why is this here? Who would ever thought that this collection would be in this basement?
That's absolutely true.
And the El Dorado here.
Yep. Again, 1976, 75, that kind of sets the tone for kind of the end of the big convertibles. That was really it. And again, you don't see many of them on the road. Great running car. I'd say put a trailer hitch on it and tow something behind it.
You definitely don't see many in a garage that also has a first generation Mustang.
That's right.
And what is that, a 59 DeSoto?
59 DeSoto, yep. Again, a great car to show. It's a four-door sedan, not super exotic like the Porsches and things are, but you put that car next to one of our Porsches and people walk to the DeSoto every time.
Oh yeah, you don't see them every day.
No, you don't. And the swing seat and things like that to get in and out of.
Oh yeah, we'll have to check out, make it easier to get in and out.
Absolutely, yes. If you're a lady with the skirt or the gentleman with his suit on back then, it made it very nice to get in and out of.
And you were telling me about the Ford-a-lac?
Yes, we have probably my favorite car of the collection, a 1940 Ford, but the entire chassis is Cadillac. So we had special emblems made for it. We call it the Ford-a-lac.
Yeah.
And a great car to drive. Goes down the road. A true 1950s era style hot rod that is a fan favorite everywhere we go.
Very unique.
Yes, absolutely.
This whole collection is just it's just all over the place. But everything about it is interesting. And I never would have thought this would be in the basement of just an office building out here.
What's fun about the car hobby is that you do have the people out there that are very specific in what they like. A lineup of Corvettes, a lineup of whatever. And what we really like about our collection and just our taste in cars is they run the gambit. We're really car people. And so consequently, yeah, you've got a little bit of everything, which makes it fun.
I mean, are these the sort of cars you guys tend to insure? Or?
We do, and you know, we're really car people first, insurance people second. Probably shouldn't say that, but I will. This is exactly what we do every day. These types of cars, people call in and first they want to know if you know about their car, and then you tell them, I've got one like it. That adds one level of connection that you just typically don't see with companies.
Yeah,
so
because they know you appreciate the cars.
Absolutely, yeah, we do. We understand. We also understand what they go through as a customer. You know, if the car breaks down, hey, we've all experienced it. The Lincoln here got stuck with the top up on a highway one day, and we had to have that car towed in. Absolutely, it happened.
Yeah.
So we can appreciate what our customers go through because we live the lifestyle as well.
Thanks for the help.
Absolutely.
So let's go check out some of these other cars.
Let's do it.
Hey everybody, if you're just joining us, that was the car collection that's in the basement at Condon Skelly. And I've got Jim here who's answering all your questions about collector car insurance. So if you have any, make sure you post them to Facebook and YouTube. And if you've missed any of this, it will be available recorded on YouTube. So if you want to see what we were discussing, the questions we were answering, all you do is go to YouTube after this and you'll be able to watch the whole thing. So we'll get back to some questions. Here's one. If I insure with you and my car gets damaged, am I allowed to fix it myself?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
Again, coming from a do-it-yourselfer type business that you guys deal with, the answer is yes.
Oh, really?
Yes, there is no exclusion as far as who fixes the car. The appraisal process is handled just like it normally would. One of our certified appraisers would come out, look at the damage, whatever it happens to be, and at that point, you know, the only difference is from a cost perspective as far as paying them for their time, because they are going to get paid for their time, just like a body shop. There's a bit of a reduction because they don't. First, they're not a professional body shop, and they don't have all the overhead that goes into the normal hourly rate that's charged. But it's pretty much insignificant as far as the value goes. But yeah, there's no doubt about it. If it's a $5,000 fender bender and they want to fix it, that's the check that's cut to them to fix the car.
And if the car would be considered totaled, then they get that agreed upon value.
Yeah, and then the last part about that is if a car actually is totaled, there'll be an appraisal done to see what the salvage value is worth at that point, and then we always make that available to them as their option if they want to buy it. Sometimes there's sentimental value involved and they want to keep it. Other times, nope, just get rid of it, especially in cases of fire. There's nothing there left to maintain. But it's always up to them whether or not they want to keep the salvage.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Okay, here's another question from YouTube. Any restrictions on the year of cars you insure?
So again, great questions today. I'll tell you, believe it or not, there is no restrictions as far as the age of vehicles. We're insuring right up to 2017 C7 Corvettes today.
Okay.
The biggest thing is to look at it is one, if the vehicles are collectible. So I know that you might think your 2016 Dodge van is a collectible in brown with brown leather, but it really isn't. Sorry to all those folks out there. But if it's collectible up front, we absolutely can insure it. So age really doesn't have anything to do with it. So it's collectability and then how you use it. Our premiums are very inexpensive. On average, about $200 a policy. Very inexpensive. So we can't write cars that you're going to drive every day.
Yeah.
That's really the thing. So if you're keeping it as a collector, and the car itself is a quasi-collector, buying it new, no issues at all.
Well, speaking of driving every day, are there like the typical mileage restrictions, and about what are they, or does it depend on the age of the year of the car?
Yeah. So our policy has no mileage restrictions. So if you want to leave today, we're here in Pennsylvania, and you want to go to San Diego for the GTO national meet, it's not excluded on the policy. That
seems because most people, that's always seems to be the biggest complaint or concern about a collector car insurance policy is how many miles and where can I drive it?
Yeah.
And there's really not many restrictions with you guys.
No, there isn't. And in fact, again, you can't drive it every day. We don't insure daily drivers. Let's not confuse ourselves there. But the funny thing is, and again, going back on 25 years of experience in the business myself, I've always thought the people that drive their cars more are more used to them. You know, they remember that drum brakes slow you down different than modern disc brakes.
Yes.
and you actually develop experience driving them.
So you're just a better driver because you're used to
it.
Because you didn't skip 40 years of
yes.
And just get into it once in a while.
Yeah, people are very disappointed sometimes when they buy their dream car that they remembered their 67 whatever it is, and they jump out of their new Honda, BMW, whatever it might be, and they forgot that
they have to let it warm up,
choke, all these things,
and they can't get it stopped.
Yes, exactly. So the more you drive, it turns you into a better driver.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense then. So here's another question. Going on the cars that you will insure, are there any cars you won't insure? Or do we sort of cover that?
Well, there's really there aren't.
Has to be collectible.
Has to be collectible. Things that are difficult. Let's just talk about the industry in general.
Yeah.
There's some vehicles that are harder to insure than others. Large-size military vehicles, believe it or not, very popular.
Yeah.
There's a huge club involved. Those are difficult just because they're huge and they can do lots of damage. Things like that.
Yeah.
For all of your Cobra owners out there, those are some of the more difficult, the Cobra replicas, 1964 to 67 replicas. Those have a very high loss ratio associated with them.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, and it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
Lightweight, high horsepower, rear-wheel drive, and no traction control. So there's some cars out there that are more difficult to insure. It just means that you have to be a very good driver, may have owned the car for a little while to show you've had some experience with it. But in general, we can pretty much insure anything.
So when you get to a typical year, is it basically most cars are considered collectible now?
The Antique Automobile Club of America has now set, if your car is 25 years old or older, it's technically an antique. So you think about, what is that, 1992?
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of 1992 cars that
aren't very collectible.
Yeah,
like almost all of them.
Well, yes, and it is kind of what it is.
Yeah,
it is the law in most states to get classic plates. They got to be 25 years or old, but you still got to go back to whether or not the car is actually collectible.
Yeah,
and it's kind of disappointing for people sometimes to know that it isn't, but it happens.
Oh, here we go. We got another question on YouTube. Do you insure classic kit cars, like a 32 Ford kit?
Absolutely, and street rods, dirty little secret, most people in this audience probably know.
Yeah.
Most of them are fiberglass today. There's very, very few what we would consider original type street rods.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's actually a good thing because it's all modern underneath, modern brakes.
They drive great.
They drive great, no issues. So yes, we absolutely do.
So switching topics a little bit, I have motorcycles. Do you guys insure motorcycles?
We do, and motorcycles we think are probably one of the really growth areas of the hobby. There's specific motorcycle auctions now. Mecum just had theirs last weekend in Las Vegas, which 10 years ago that didn't happen. People are finding that they make great memorabilia in their man cave, things like that, but they're also using them. We had, starting in Atlantic City last year, the Cannonball Run. Went from Atlantic City to San Diego for pre-1916 motorcycles only.
Drive across the country on a pre-1916 motorcycle?
Had over 100 bikes that took part in that.
What?
So, yes, absolutely. Check it out on YouTube.
Wow, that's insane.
Yeah.
Is that over 3,000 miles or something?
Yeah, and it was timed. They were averaging well over 200 miles a day on a 1916 motorcycle.
What? 200 miles a day is a lot in anything, and then on a 1916 motorcycle?
Which are glorified bicycles.
Yeah.
Really, when it comes right down to it. And so the motorcycle hobby is getting big. We absolutely can do it, no problems at all.
Wow, that's great to know. All right, I'm gonna check around here for a couple more. Oh, we got a question about our scroll compressor. It's coming out this fall for all these people that are asking about that.
Okay. Did you say a squirrel compressor?
Scroll.
I was gonna say, if you're compressing squirrels, that would not be good.
It's a scroll. I'll work scroll compressor before I work on my enunciation. But it's modern technology. It's pretty cool. Incredibly quiet. So if you're used to those big old piston compressors that keep your family awake, it's amazing how quiet it is. And it's going to be great for our hobbyists who work out of their home garage.
It's good to know. I mean, we all need air in our tires. Yeah. Right.
Oh, it's going to do a lot more now. We've been operating blasters, paint guns. Yeah, it's small, but it'll have the performance of probably a compressor about at least twice the size.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. We're pretty excited about it here.
Great.
So I guess we got one more question. If you have any questions, keep them coming. We have one here. What's the best way to get a price for a collector car insurance policy?
Super easy. Again, going back in history a little bit, 25 years ago, application, whole 9 yards, weeks. Now it's literally 4 questions. You go right to the website. 4 questions will give you an indication that typically is within just a few dollars what your final premium is. If that looks good, you continue on. 5 minutes later, the process is done. You'll actually speak directly to a professional underwriter when you submit the application to us. And if there's any questions, they'll follow up with you on it. It just couldn't be any easier in this day and age.
Yeah, and we have a link. So if you're interested in going to Condon Skelly and putting an application, there's a link on Facebook and YouTube. If you just look in the description or above Facebook. And actually, if you're watching this recorded, at the end of the video, near the end, after we sign off, there's going to be a link there as well. So it'll take you right to Condon Skelly, and you get all the information. We actually have a couple more questions popping up. Somebody that missed the beginning, but they said, how does the sign-up process work with appraisal, and are there any storage requirements or restrictions? There's a few questions there.
Yeah, that's...
So appraisal, which is, I guess, the agreed-upon price we were talking about. If we go over that again.
Sure. So first off, we don't require appraisals. Some companies do. If we've always been in the position, if you're a company that requires appraisal, it's because you don't see enough of these kind of cars to know what they are.
Okay.
We've been doing.
And as we saw, you guys are car guys. We saw the collection.
It's exactly right.
In the basement.
We've been doing this a long time. We've got underwriters on staff that have been there almost 30 years, personally. That's absolute true story. So we don't require appraisals. If we do get in a situation where you've got a vehicle that want a very high dollar amount for, where all of a sudden, let's just say matching numbers, 427, 435 Corvette, the difference between matching numbers and not is significant. So if somebody wants a very high dollar amount there, we may ask somebody to document the fact that it is what they're saying it is.
Very rare car.
Absolutely, yes, exactly. But in general, appraisals are not required. What was the next?
So the next question was, are there any storage requirements or restrictions for the cars that you're insured?
That, one of the reasons why we talked about our premiums being low, average premiums low over $200, is that we assume that the vehicles are collectors, meaning that they're going to be taken care of better than just your average daily driven car. So garages are required. You don't need a garage mahal like you have here, but they absolutely need to be kept inside. Place. Yeah,
which is just typical. And if you have a car like that, it's probably if you care about it, you probably are trying to keep it in that area.
Exactly, and it's funny where you'll have people park their new $40,000 new car outside and their $10,000 street rod inside, but that's the way it should be.
Okay.
I mean, take care of those.
So we've got another question here on YouTube. What about cars that are considered rat rods or similar, which has been growing in popularity the last few years?
Huge. You know, rat rods are one of those things that construction means everything, probably how well they're built professionally. Some are trash. That's just the way it goes. But other ones, we've got some rat rods on the book that are well into 6-figure values.
Oh, wow.
I mean, to make things look ratty, it can be expensive.
Yeah.
The one thing that we really want to caution people with rat rods is the open headers and the way the exhaust systems work. Put yourself in the position of a 6-year-old walking up to your car when you start it. Flames, things like that. So put my insurance hat on here, from a loss perspective, they can be very dangerous on initial startup. Open headers sound cool, we like the flames, things like that, but they can be very, very dangerous if you're not familiar with what's going on. And we've all seen that. You kind of stand back and watch, but they're funneled out right 6 inches off the ground, some are straight off the sides, and it can be very dangerous. So that would be my only thing, is to really think through the exhaust side of it, and not just how cool and neat it sounds, but from a safety perspective. Nobody wants to see anybody get hurt, and you can with rat rods, and that is kind of what they are.
Now, when you get into a rat rod, when you say that they're built right, now that's coming down to, if they're applying for a policy, are they going to list what the engine is, if the chassis, any upgrades like that, like maybe the body looks ratty, but it's built for performance?
So it's amazing what you can see when people try to make things look ratty. Where they, I don't want to say they mess up, but where you see the quality of the work is how the brakes are mounted. You know, disc brakes, how that's done, the quality of the frame. I mean, it's hard to make that stuff look bad, and we see that kind of things in pictures. From what we require as far as documenting the value and things go, only if it's a very high value would we want to see what they've really done to it. But generally, on rat rods, that's one spot where we might ask for some more pictures, you know, front end and things. That's where you can really see the quality and then the safety side of it. Last thing you want to do is have a wheel fall off going down the road at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And you can tell from pictures how well the job's done.
Okay, that's good to know. Let me check here. Well, doesn't look like any last second questions are coming in. So I guess that could be it. Is there anything else
Sure.
you'd like to add?
No, I mean, it just, I guess one thing, definitely as they're buying your products and they're upgrading their car, whether they're insured with us or not, don't forget to call your company, add the tools onto your homeowner's policy, and increase the value of your car.
Yeah, it's great to know. And if you're just joining us, what Jim was talking about is you can increase the value of your car as you make improvements, which also means they will also insure project cars.
That's right.
Which is big, because if you're out there, you're working on your car, you might be disappointed to find out that it's not covered by your homeowner's insurance policy, especially if something happens. When that's where Condon Skelly comes in, because they will insure that project car, and when it's finished, you get the agreed upon value, and then that's what your final policy is for.
Yeah, it's exciting to see people with projects, and you kind of follow along the way.
Yeah.
As they, the body painted. It's pride of ownership, and it's amazing how they'll call in and talking to an underwriter, and it's hard to get them off the phone sometimes. Let's put it that way. So yeah, as you make the improvements, send in the pictures. We love seeing that
See
stuff.
it finished finally?
Yeah, it's really great. It is. And we've actually, when they finally send the picture, the first car show they go to, it's amazing how that stuff works. So it's great.
So, all right. Well, it looks like that's it for the questions then. So thanks to everybody who asked any questions. If you've got more questions, all you have to do is check out the link we have for Condon Skelly Insurance on Facebook and YouTube. If you click that, it's going to take you directly to their site, and there's going to be a representative there that'll be able to answer all your questions and help you out. And if you're watching this recorded, in a few seconds after we sign off, there's also going to be a link there. So if you're on your phone or on your computer, you just tap that link. It's going to take you directly to Condon Skelly, and you can get your insurance policy, get everything, all the information you need.
Everything you need.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Jim.
Thanks, Randy. Appreciate it.